Welcome back to Retain, where we go behind the scenes with the people actually building revenue engines, not just talking about them. My guest today is Donna Owen, founder of The Engine, fractional go-to-market and revenue leadership partner that helps early stage and scaling tech companies, especially in SaaS and FinTech, bridge the gap between vision and a repeatable go-to-market. Donna's work spans fractional go-to-market leadership, recruitment, revenue process, and training. And she's also the host of The Engine Founder Stories, where she unpacks how founders build real growth engines. Donna, I'm excited for this one. Thanks for making the time.
Thank you so much. What a lovely intro. I really enjoyed that.
So, thank you for joining us at a time that's a little later in your day. So, definitely appreciate it. So, hopefully, that introduction to justice, is there anything I missed you would like to add to introduce yourself to our listeners?
No, I think I need to give you some work, Ian. You did it better than I do when people ask me what we do here at the Engine. So I think you pretty much covered everything from, it's the whole revenue life cycle. I think the most important thing is that the reason why it's the Engine is that this is one big moving part. And so whilst there are all of the elements and components that you just mentioned, the Engine is very much what drives a business forward. And that is the revenue org. And it exists in one big block that pushes everything forward. But yeah, you pretty much coined it well. So thank you very much.
It helped that we got to chat before this session. So, how do you typically describe what you do as the founder of the engine when you're talking to these B2B SaaS and FinTech founders who are still doing most of the selling themselves?
Yeah, so it depends who I'm talking to, but in short, we bring everything together. So from demand gen through marketing, sales, account management, and customer success. Because as I've just said, I believe that they are all one and the same. So founders typically have one of two problems. So depending on where they are in their journey, if they're alone, then they don't have any of this stuff. So, and actually secretly, that's my favorite because we get to go in with a lovely blank canvas and a paintbrush and we start from scratch. But some founder-led sales, I think, is something that people think of and they think of startups. But a lot of the clients that I worked with are far from startups, but they're still in founder-led sales. 15 years later, 10 years later. And they often have a marketing team. They often have someone doing the demand gen. They often had 2 or 3 AEs, maybe somebody sat over there in customer success and an account manager. What they've not managed to work out yet is how they get them working cohesively. So that's the problem that we fix for those guys. So depending on where you are on your journey and what the problems are that you're seeing, that's what we deliver. Essentially.
So you've heard this a lot then, where they've said, yeah, we've got some traction, but it's still very founder led.
Yeah. Usually they say, why can't I just have more of me? Why can't I create more of me? I can do it. Why can't anybody else do it? That tends to be the problem that they think they have. They don't actually lead with my business is founder led. They don't use that terminology. It's more of a, I'm able to sell it. Why can't anybody else? The first thing we have to do is get them to realize that's because there's a huge difference between founder-led sales and sales. We educate as to why it is that they're managing to be successful, and yet they've had a revolving door of SDRs for the last 2 years,
Sure.
and none of them have been successful. And so that's the first stage. I would love it if someone said, hi, we're in founder-led sales. Can you help us to get out? They're already way ahead of 99% of the founders that we speak to who haven't worked out yet. And that's where they are.
Got it. Got it. And to this, right, you've built the engine around the idea of growth accelerated, where you also add modular support across fractional leadership, marketing, tech transformation. There's quite a few things to unpack there. Could you walk us through what your world looks like from a day-to-day across those areas?
No 2 days are ever the same, which is what I love. But I'll give you a reason why we went with Growth Accelerated. It was because in our space, there are a lot of consultants. There are a lot of advisors. People come in and give you I'm not taking anything away from what they do. They give you a really well-educated, well-experienced overview of where you are now, what you need to do next to get there. What's different between those guys and what we do at the Engine is we make that happen. So we get you there quicker than if you were to go through the process of somebody coming in, writing the playbook, and then handing it back to you, and you then having to be the one who works out how the hell you're going to deliver it. So that's the Growth Accelerated is the differentiator between using a consultancy and using the engine. But to go back to your actual question, what's a day in the life like? Wow, it depends on the client. I'll be honest. Most people come to me and think they've got a sales problem. So they bring me in as a fractional CRO because they want me to fix their sales team. They want me to help them close more deals. Their conversion rates are down, all of this stuff. And where we typically end up is right back up at demand generation, right back up, even at brand. We're building websites for some of our clients because they've just got that stuff wrong. Even the copy on their website is not amplifying the problems that they solve or why they set out in this business in the first place. And I can easily link then to why
Sure.
they're not closing more deals. So they're not closing more deals, not because of that underperforming AE. That poor AE is getting the blame for absolutely everything. They're not closing the deals because they don't really know what it is that or the problems that they're solving and for who, and how to use technology to now identify signals as to when that problem could be solved. So this takes all the way back into the demand gen engine. And so 90% of my job, which I didn't realize actually, I'm not a CMO at all. I've always worked with great marketing people. It's not my trade. I'm a salesperson. I'm a new business through and through. So I've had to learn quite a lot in the last 2 years because most of the work that I do sits in marketing now. And I'm learning that on the
Yes.
job. I'll be honest with
Yeah.
you. It's not my profession, but I'm very much enjoying it.
Absolutely. And so much about marketing is about storytelling and kind of having that brand awareness and just essentially conveying the message of what it is that you do, right? Is that where you see a lot of folks getting it wrong, where it's not easy for people visiting their website to know, hey, what is it that you actually do? What are you trying to sell here? What's the outcome that you're trying to market? Is that
Yeah,
normal?
yeah, it's very normal. Things have changed and copy's been changed here and the messaging has become unclear, or maybe quite normally the value proposition, the product suite has changed, the market has changed, and all of the messaging that's out there hasn't evolved with that. And one of the things about where we are from a digital perspective is that these things are evolving much quicker. The way people buy has changed completely. And yet how many companies have gone, right, guys, our buyers are changing. Let's take a look at that website or that LinkedIn page or those ads that were created 6 months ago and make sure that they're still fit for purpose. Who's actually having that conversation? So there's a real disconnect between all of the content that's going out and what we as consumers and buyers really want to see. So that is a real typical problem. I think along the way as well, particularly for founder-led sales businesses, there's a real hustle going on. They're constantly on deals. They're constantly networking because they've got to keep that little black book topped up because
Right.
otherwise founder-led sales doesn't work anymore. And so they're just out there just smashing it every day. And God love them. Like, I just love that. That's how I'm in my happy place when I'm out there selling and talking to people. I absolutely love it. But it keeps you very busy. And so you don't get that time to take a step back and reflect on actually, are we still building for the same audience or are we now building for somebody else? Or what are the problems that we solve today? Because we built this product or this service to fix a problem 6 months ago. Does that problem still exist or now is there a different problem? And that's an exercise that founders or CROs or everybody actually should do on a regular basis. Just that it doesn't have to be a big old, you don't have to get PwC in to do it. It's just a little bit of a sense check. Have an away day. The world is not going to end. Have an away day with your leadership team and just work out whether what you're pushing out there still actually combats any pain that people have got, because the pain may have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. What did they say in the old days? If you were falling short somewhere, throw a body at it. And now it's like if you're behind somewhere, throw an AI at it.
Yeah. Well, there's an agent for everything, right?
Right. There's an agent for everything.
And actually, we joke, but this doesn't necessarily all have to be. We've not even gone into the AI stuff yet, but I'm not talking about a fully humanized process here. It is that extra person on that leadership event. You've got to have an agent at the table now just to, I mean, hybrid, right? You can't hand over your entire brand to an AI platform and ask it to fix everything. You still need somebody in the room. But yeah, you can definitely have an agent at the table and just to do that kind of sense check. And also just you've identified your ICP, you've done the work, you've all sat there and said, right there, okay, this is who we're building for. It's dead easy to find out who they are and where they reside now. What's not easy without AI is to get the timing right. So that's the bit where you
Right.
can then bring that in and it can just supercharge it. So it's a joint effort, agents and humans working together beautifully. That's what we need to
Yeah,
achieve.
absolutely. I wanted to talk about the podcast that you're running, the Founder Series. How did that come about, and how does it complement the work that you do for your clients?
Well, for the first thing, it's my favorite thing. I absolutely love it. So it's so nice to be on this side of the table, though, I must say. It was a weird one, actually. I'm glad you asked because the engine fixes are, we've heard of dog fooding, right? So our own dog food at the engine. So I'm constantly saying to prior to the engine, I used to be saying to my CEO as the CRO, and now as in the engine, I'm constantly saying to my clients that don't build anything unless you know that you're fixing a problem. To find out, it's 101, isn't it? Of building any type
Yes.
of business is
Right.
identify a problem and then work out how you're going to fix it, and then tell as many people as possible that have that problem, and you're going to sell stuff. So I thought I knew that I'd identified a real problem. There's a huge cohort of founders that are really trapped right now, and they really don't know how to get to the next stage, next to the next milestone in their business, whether that be at the next investment round, where it could be that they want to get into a new market, it might go from SMB to mid market, whatever. They're just a bit kind of, well, I don't know how to get there. So I knew that we were going to solve a really big problem. And we did. Every project that we took on at the beginning was super successful. And I got very busy very quickly, which is a really good problem to have. And then
Yeah.
my problem shifted from I need to feed my kids to, right, okay, they're okay now. They've got the beans on toast. I now need to stay relevant to the people that I serve, which is founders and SaaS businesses. But I'd switched off my marketing because I didn't want any more work. I couldn't take any more, couldn't physically take any more work. So I was like, no one knows who I am. My personal brand is going down the toilet. I'm not reaching out to anybody. I've turned everything off. Like, I'm just going to be a freelancer sat in my office at home, just kind of working for my clients. What am I going to do? How am I going to have the most relevant, up to date information? And someone just said to me, you should do a podcast. And that was it. It's just like something clicked. And within 3 weeks, I got a studio in London. I was like, I'm going to do it in person. Because it's founder stories, it felt like a very personal thing. So I was like, I need to see them. And Tom Rose, who's a great guy, is AI expert, was my first guest. And I walked into the room so like full of life, confident, like, yeah, I've got a podcast. And sat down and literally like the blood just I was so nervous, and we got through it, and he was amazing, such a great guest, and we got through it. But needless to say, when I watched the more recent episodes, there's still work to be done, but when I compare now, let's just say that things have got a little bit better. I was a little bit wooden when it first started, but it's been absolutely fantastic. So now, if ever I'm on a pitch or if ever I'm speaking at a networking event or talking to somebody and they're like, well, what are the challenges facing founders today? I can give them like amazing answers that are super relevant and I know to be true, because I've got my clients here who have this set of problems, but I'm also speaking to all manner of founders and CEOs and investors and everything else on the podcast. So I feel confident now that I'm getting up-to-date information.
For sure. I guess from one podcaster to another, right? It's like going to the gym. You're sore the first few times, and then you get used to it, and then it
You
just
exercise
it
it, and
it
then you're
feels
like,
good.
my belt's a bit loose.
Yeah, it feels
I
good
feel
after a
good.
while.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not quite at the point where I'm there yet, but I do enjoy it. I mean, the guests I've just been so lucky. I've been so lucky. They've all smashed it. There's been not one show where it's been like, oh man, that was painful. It's flowed really nicely, and it's just it's just been great. So long may it continue. I'll be honest, I'm finding it difficult to fit in now because we are so busy, but I do make the time. I'm quite kind of rigid about carving out that time to do the show. And I also have a fantastic production company who take care of everything for me now, from guest liaison all the way through to doing the editing as well. So that's a bit of a treat that I got for myself at the back end of the year, because I was like, I need to then make sure that these founders get really lovely content out of coming along. They've come in person to meet with me. The least I can do is gift them like a load of PR stuff. So I've enlisted a company to do that, and they are fantastic. So yeah, I'm really lucky in that respect that we've been able to keep the podcast going, even though it's not a revenue stream, I suppose, for the engine. I don't ever reach out to the founders after and try and sell them something. I like them to feel quite safe, that they're not going to be attacked. And pitched when they come in, and they're just going to have a jolly old time, get to talk about themselves for a change instead of their business so much. And yeah, everyone's a winner.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I've enjoyed the journey as well. It's just been, you
Yes.
get to meet such great folks from different walks of life, similar problems, and just, talking about their vision and inspiring listeners as we go. So, just talking a little bit about your position and the industry landscape, right? There's a lot of folks moving toward fractional leadership, whether it's the fractional CRO, CMO, GTM leaders. How does that trend change the kind of problems founders bring to the engine?
It's an interesting one because I've always tried to stay out of being fractional because I want to build the business as the engine. The engine is a collaboration, if you will, of best in breed providers that come together to deliver out of the box a go to market infrastructure that founders could only dream of sourcing individually. Like they will never get this. They would never get it for the price. They would never know who the people are. They would just not know what to do. I mean, most of them that I deal with don't really know where to get started with marketing, for instance, whereas I've built a network of the best marketing creators, agencies that I believe in the world. And I might be being a little bit rose tinted spectacles there, but I genuinely believe that. And they always, always, always get results. They deal in MQLs. They don't talk about fluffy high level stuff. They are like on it. So yeah, that's what the engine was built to be. And that's what makes it different. So I always had a bit of an issue with being seen as fractional.
Sure.
And then I decided to get over myself and realize that's exactly what I am. So yes, the engine, so the way that I think about it now, and this is exactly how it is yes, the engine is a business that exists, it's self-sustaining, it exists with or without me, right? It could work. I could sell the engine tomorrow to somebody and they could have it working. It does not rely on me. But the reason why I feel like I'm an asset to this business, just like if I was an employer, still employed, is that my role, my job for the engine to serve the engine is their fractional CRO. So when if that's the service that somebody needs, then it's me that will go in and deliver that because I'm the employee that gets to do that. So it's slightly kind of different. But in general, because I obviously have a network of other fractionals and it's a space that I've been getting really into recently, now that I've admitted that's what I am, I'm now like, oh, okay, I'm fractional too. I'll come to the dinners. It's definitely, the landscape is changing. I read a really awful stat. I think it was in the US, like the average tenure of a CRO is like 9 months. It's so, so low. And that's not, you've just lost 9 months of salary there. Did you pay a recruitment fee? How long did it take you to hire them? How much is it going to cost you? And I'm not saying I'm anti-perm at all, because I actually think if you can nail a perm CRO for your business, let's face it, that's the optimal way to do it. But when you're just getting started, what I find is different with a fractional is that they will roll their sleeves up. And if I'm honest with you, most days that I'm delivering fractional CRO work for the engine, I'm an AE. And then I also rock up at the board meeting and deliver a kick-ass report that will go up against most CROs. So you just become so versatile and so multifaceted. And I think there's certain stages of growing a business where that is just absolute gold. So I think it's the rise of the fractional leader in business in general, CTO, CFO, CRO, doesn't really matter. I think is an amazing, exciting opportunity for businesses to be able to get this quality, but also get somebody that's not scared to roll their sleeves up, but also have that safety blanket in the background that this is not going to kill them. Because the wrong hire in your C-suite, perm hire when you are growing a business, might kill you as a company. So you can have that knowledge that this is not going to be the end if it doesn't go well. You just go, contract's finished. So I really think that fractional leadership for a growing business is a bit of a no-brainer. And actually most fractionals, if they really fell in love with the company that they were working fractional, this doesn't include me, by the way, but most fractionals that I talk to, if they were working in the perfect company and they fell in love and there was a real fit, they'd go perm. So what a great way to bring on a perm person is to hire them as a fractional and then just make them fall in love with what you're building and your brand, and then chuck them a bit of equity And everyone comes out of that as a winner.
Yeah. It's almost like a contract to hire in the tech world, right? Where you bring somebody on, they're there for a 6 to 12 month contract to hire, and then you like their work, they like working at the business, and things are working out, and you basically say, "Hey, would you want to make this a permanent home?" And
Definitely.
say,
And most, so they might say no. They might enjoy what they do. There's a reason they've gone fractional. They might just really enjoy the variety. They might not want to give the rest of their career to one company. And that's cool. Like, I'm all for change. I love change. It's my favorite thing in the world. I move house all the time. I absolutely love it. So some people, that's their worst, my life would be their worst nightmare. So it's very much horses for courses. But if you find a really good fractional, it's a really good fit, you both know it's a fit. It's like any relationship, right? You know, straight, how many people do you know that went out on 2 dates and got married and lived happily ever after because it just worked from the off? It's the same when you bring on a fractional, you know whether it's going to be the love of your life or whether it's actually not going to work out. So yeah, I think the thing I enjoy most about where the fractional world is now is that it's not seen as interim anymore. It used to be a contract or an interim, and now it's got its own legs, it's got its own life. It's different. It's a completely different thing now. And I would urge any company that's looking at a fractional, if you're thinking of them as a contractor or an interim, you need to change that mindset. Because what I hear in the fractional space is that there's a little bit of taking advantage of fractionals and trying to just use them as cheap, risk-free labor.
"Sure, sure."
Little things like, you pay a fractional up front. You do not pay them like an employee. They will invoice you from their company and you pay them like you don't expect them to come to all of your internal meetings that are not relevant for them. If you want labor that you don't have to pay tax for, that's not how it works. So you need to know what you're getting into. If you're thinking about bringing in a fractional C-suite, you need to do your research as to what you're getting into because you might find it's not what you're looking for. I think if you want to make your boat go faster and you want people that are hot, that can hit the ground running, really get stuff done, they don't need an onboarding. A great fractional does not need all that onboarding fluff. They don't care about that. They don't want a new laptop and everything sent to their house. It's just just give me the stuff and show me what to do and show me your product and I'm going to go. So if that's what you're looking for, you really want to go fast, that's when you get a fractional. If you're just looking for somebody who you want to have as a perm, but you don't want all of the liability that sits with that, then get yourself an interim.
Exactly, exactly. No, that's very well explained. Let's talk a little bit about what does an ideal customer look like to you today?
For the engine,
Yes.
it's dead easy, this one. I deal in milestones. I deal in outcomes. So if what you're looking for is marginal gains, you don't want to work with us. We're looking for big transformations, big rebrands, changing markets, building something new, introducing enterprise, going for a Series B, anything that's big. You want to get to something that's the next phase of your business. And maybe you've even got already a perm team, but you want us to come in and be an addition to that, some extra firepower to really drive that next change. That's where we really come into our own. And the other ideal customer, obviously tends to be in the SaaS type space. We do have quite a few service industry clients as well. So one thing, I'd like to think that what we do is pretty much agnostic across different industries. I grew up in the staffing technology sector. So as soon as I'm in a staffing tech business, I'm just hold my beer, move out of the way, everybody. I'm here now. I'm going to make this thing work. So I just feel at home. I feel natural. That's my happy place. But, as you kindly said in the intro, we have experience in FinTech. We can work. We know how that kind of fast moving payments works. And you can kind of pick the engine up and drop it into anything and it'll make it work. But ideal customer is in the B2B SaaS just because then I tend to go faster because I know what I'm dealing with. And then, I think just going a bit deeper on the ICP, where we add, it's not necessarily who I take on more, but just where I think we can add the most value and see the most impact is if they're not just looking for one part of the revenue engine. So, if they're only looking for, I do outbound as a service, right? So I have a group of SDRs who I've handpicked and they're awesome. And I can give you an SDR for an amount of time. That's all they want. Yes, they'll get value out of it, but they're not going to see the true value of what we do. It's clients that work with us that want to outsource their entire go-to-market from demand gen through to account management, that's who's going to get the most value. So if that's the brief, I'm like, yes, we've got to get these guys in.
For sure. Yeah, because my next follow up to the ICP was going to be, where did they find they need the most help? Is it leadership, process, enablement, or actually doing the marketing and outbound?
Yeah, the latter. I kind of wish that it was the process side. I kind of wish that I got to just build like really awesome workflows for people and like put agents in and do that all day because I enjoy it and I'm a bit of a geek with it. But ultimately, they need leads. They have not got enough pipeline. No one that I've ever gone into has got anything like the amount of pipeline that they need to make the numbers that they're telling me they've told their investors they're going to make. So we have to jump on that pretty quickly. So it's all tends to be very much about lead gen, and that comes from building outbound and inbound systems that work together and not separately. So it's not like, oh, we'll do marketing first and then we'll get the outbound. We do both at the same time because they talk to each other. Again, I mentioned we bring stuff together. They shouldn't sit as two separate motions. You don't have your inbound motion. People refer inbound motion, outbound motion. Like, hang on, motion. So that's SDRs should be getting their information from the lead gen team to say, oh, okay, we've got some intent here. Let's put them into a huge like sequence. No, get that SDR on the phone to them if they're showing intent. So that's the difference now. We make it go faster. And that is, I'd say, where, the majority of the problems lie. They just don't have anywhere near enough pipe for what they want to achieve.
Got it. Got it. This is great to know, especially from a founder's perspective. Let's talk a little bit about navigating some challenges and looking into the future, right? So, when you look at your own client acquisition engine, what aspects are working exceptionally well, and where do you feel like there's still untapped potential? I know you said that we had to turn it off because it was getting us too busy, but do you still feel like there's areas where there is untapped potential?
Yeah, I mean, there's regardless of how well you're doing, you should always still be building your network. So reaching out to relevant people on LinkedIn and just connecting with them and then surprising them by not selling to them is my favorite thing because they're genuine. They people are like longing for genuine connections, right? If they're just so they know that you get that connection request and within 20 minutes or a day, they're then going to get
Yeah.
reason for me connecting was, and you're like, oh, here we go. And you're in the sequence now. So I tend to spend a lot of time using AI and also manually as well. If I've got the time, just having a look at like who's doing interesting stuff, reading their articles, genuinely commenting, not having a bot do it. I never have a bot. That's one use of AI I don't use. I don't have any automated comments. I do not trust that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just connecting with people that I find interesting. If they've written something that I like, I'll reshare it. And these are time consuming things, but I think these are the things that if you do them, they will in the end turn into revenue eventually. If I'm looking at my projects and I see that I've got a gap, or if I see that I might be able to help a company, then I ramp it up a little bit. I use the usual kind of Dripify and various different things and do more of a kind of scaled approach, shall we say, where I'm reaching out to more people, they're in sequences, etc. I still believe it works, whether you love it or hate it. I'd never ever get down on it. So I just mocked a little bit, but I would never get down on another salesperson for sending me an automated outreach. We're all doing it. As long as it's well thought out and I can tell why they've reached out to me, then I'm happy to respond and give them a little bit of my time. So yeah, those pinch points is when I do ramp it up. I don't use any email marketing. I use it for my clients, but not for the engine. Everything is via like LinkedIn and social. I
Got it.
just think I go with the higher value, higher conversion channels. I'm not doing any paid ads or anything at the moment, but again, I do it with all of my clients. I've just not needed to just go down that route. When we first started the business, I invested quite heavily in some video content, which was just me talking to my ICP around various different problems. I was just then super, super disciplined in terms of actually putting that out. So my posting schedule was on point. My cadence was absolutely dialed in, locked in, and was my priority. And that's still paying off nearly 2 years later. If you get that consistency, LinkedIn algorithm likes you, the market likes you, people know who you are. And yeah, that's still working for me now and has probably mitigated any ad spend that I would have needed to make had I not been disciplined in the first place.
So, with all that we just discussed, If you could wave a magic wand and instantly solve one problem related to growth or efficiency, what would that be?
A very good question. I think creating the first, like MQLs, is always tricky because what works for one client doesn't work for
Right.
the other. So
Yeah.
I don't need a magic wand for everything that happens after that because I can predict it and I've built the engine for it's almost like I know what's coming. I know how to handle those leads. I know how to qualify them. We've got the methodology down. We know how to demo. We know how to close. It's where we lose a little bit of the control is okay, how do we get them into the funnel in the first place? Because as I've just said, you can do everything right. Sometimes you just need a magic wand. And I'll be speaking to 2 clients who I've built exactly the same model for, similar, like everything's the same, obviously different ICP, different messaging and everything else, but it should land. And one of them is like erecting a statue of me outside their office because I've like solved all their problems. And the other one's like, I'm paying you all this money and nothing's happening. And I'm like, "Oh." So yeah, that's what I'd love to fix is that unpredictability earlier on because it only gets super predictable once you've converted MQL to SQL.
For sure. In all this, where do you think smart automation or AI could play a role in solving without sacrificing the high touch that you've always aimed for?
Yeah, AI is everywhere in my workflows now, in places where I probably would have sat here a year ago and said, AI is never going to do that. It requires a human. So, a good example is the first touch point. So, you've got your content out there, you've got call to action, someone started to engage, they've filled their details in. What we used to do, and what I would have advocated for even probably 12 months ago, would be like, right, human, like turn everything off, like automation, human, get in there now and reach out to that prospect because they're engaged. They need to speak to somebody. How wrong I was, they don't. What they need at this point is a bot because humans will tell bots things that they won't tell another human. I've been testing this with like WhatsApp automation and agents. So the things that we will disclose to an agent are much more detailed than we would have disclosed because when you're on a call to an AE, your back is up against the wall a little bit. It's like they're trying to sell to me, they're trying to sell to me. So we become naturally guarded. Whereas if you know that you're not going to please the other person on the other side of the call, you just sing like a bird and you tell them things. So things like, for example, when the contract is ending with your current
Sure.
supplier, when an AE asks that, you're like, they're trying to get me to cancel the contract. I'm not going to do it. Oh, I'm just going to say I don't know. And so many, when we looked at data, so many answers to that question were, we're not sure. Yes, you are. You know exactly when your contract's ending. But when you get an agent to ask that question, they usually come up with the answer. So
Interesting.
that's where the first touch points before, like understanding that people are not ready to say to talk to a human yet is one of the biggest shifts that as sales leaders we either have made or need to make and just use AI in the process. Yes, we're sat there monitoring everything and getting super excited because our ICP have just responded to an ad or whatever. So we can watch from the sidelines, but just let the agents like do their thing and then come in when that buyer is ready to speak to us. Because if they're already ready to speak to us, all we've got to do is close them and we're done. There's various other different places as well within the engine that we see AI really adding so much value. Obviously, signals is is my favorite word at the moment, buzzword of the quarter. ICP isn't enough anymore. You don't need to know just you're selling to and why. You also need to know when.
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
actually, if I'm the perfect customer for an Audi, doesn't mean that this is the point that I'm ready to buy an Audi. There will be certain things like, you know, a Mercedes contract coming up for renewal, or we getting a pay rise, or the engine getting an investment or whatever, which might drive me towards buying an Audi. And Audi need to know that. So we need to be, timing is a gift that AI is able to afford us, understanding when the right time is to make contact with our ICP. So those are my 2 favorites, but it's everywhere.
In terms of metrics, right? We talked about MQL and SQL, but overall, what metrics are most critical for you to track and understand, health and growth for your clients and for the engine.
Well, I could just be fancy and talk all about CAC and LTV ratios and all of this stuff. But there is one metric for me, and that is conversations. If you're not talking to anyone, you ain't selling anything. So conversations is my favorite metric. And throughout the entire, not just early conversations, throughout the entire life cycle. And, technologies have afforded us to be able to capture those because even when we are out and about, we have wearables, we have things that we can, apps and things that we can use, transcripts, there's so much technology that's enabling us to be able to track those conversations as happen in our source of truth, whatever that might be. And actually, because as CROs, we get so hung up. Every time we go into an investor board meeting, they just want to know about the very much like the CRO metrics. They want to know what the CAC to LTV ratio is. They want to know what we're spending on ads and all of this stuff and what the MQL to SQL conversion. But I think for me, conversations always is the thing that affects all of those other metrics. So if you're not tracking that, there's no point in you sitting there in a meeting and scratching your head over why your CAC's gone through the roof, your LTV is down, your MQL to SQL conversion is off, because all the reason for all of those things happening, I guarantee, will be that you're not having enough conversations.
For sure. You're the first guest that's talked about conversations as a metric. So yeah, I'm happy that we've got folks that can think a little differently and be more strategic beyond what the numbers are telling you. So definitely thank you for sharing those insights. As we get to the end of our podcast, is there anything you would want to leave our audience with in terms of how they should think about their go-to-market strategy or scaling from a solopreneur or a founder-led type of engagement to actually growing their business?
So everybody is confused as to whether to replace all of the humans with AI. I've got founders that you mentioned recruitment as being one of the things that the engine can provide. We don't do that ourselves. We have, like everything else, we work with amazing go-to-market partners. Because of when we started the business in the AI era, it wouldn't surprise you to know that actually the question that I'm being asked now is not, okay, how can you grow our headcount? It's more, how can you get us to where we need to get to without any people? So the recruitment arm to the engine has been very underutilized. And I feel terrible. I had all these conversations about the best go-to-market cruises. I'm like, I'm starting a business. I need you guys on board. And it's like, sorry, guys, got to work for you. But it's not the way to the ones that are really winning are the ones that are like, okay, yes, we're not going to have headcount as a vanity metric. We're not just going to have some sort of weird sum that tells us that the more people we have in the business, we just times their targets by whatever, and that's how much money we're going to make, which is how we used to do it, let's face it. What they're doing now is to say, right, instead of investing that in 6 people, let's get 2 A players and use AI properly. So that's the perfect model for me, is the human using the AI and the human understanding how to use AI to make them more productive. Because what you don't want is a really expensive A player, go to market, like genius, superstar AE, like adding stuff into HubSpot. So you can take all of that away now and just allow them to be super awesome. So you can afford them because you don't need 6, you just need 2. And then
Correct.
you need some decent tools as well. So that's what I would definitely urge people to look at, is that real nice hybrid approach. And then this is just something from me personally, is the thing that I attribute most of our success to at the engine is speaking to other founders. Because sometimes people forget I'm a founder too. And I have the same challenges and the same problems as some of the people who I work for. And so the best thing about the podcast that Founder Stories has been, it's actually helped me be a better founder, and it's helped me feel less alone. And it's helped me through some of the challenges that I've had, and it's given me solutions to some of the problems that I've had while I'm trying to run this rat race as well. So being insular and just kind of burying yourself in an office and feeling like, reading too much on social media about the grind and how you've got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, take an ice bath, never speak to anybody, neglect your family. Otherwise, you're just not going to be successful. I think just ignore that, because the best thing you can actually do is shut your laptop and get out and talk to people. So, and again, let's bring it back to AI. Should enable you to do that because we don't have to write a board report for a day now. Claude can write a board report for you in 5 minutes, and you can shut your laptop and go out to the park with your kids, or you can go to a networking meeting. You can go to a dinner and talk to other founders, and it'll make you feel so much better about the journey that you're going on. So, yeah, hybrid approach to sales and don't neglect yourself as a founder is probably the two I would have picked.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Very valuable insights, and appreciated you again making time when it's relatively later in the day for you.
So can I have that glass of wine now? Is that okay? We go.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
Yeah, it's been really
thank you so
enjoyable.
much.
It's nice to sit on the other side of the couch for a change and have a nice chat. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure having you, and hope to see you soon in the UK.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely come and see me.
All right.